You're listening to Children of the Watch. I'm Mac Lacey.
And I'm Alex Maxwell, and today we are continuing the Mandalorian Rewatch with Season 2, Chapter 15, The Believer. If you're new to our podcast, we break down every single episode of Star Wars television, scene by scene, to analyze the story, find comb for Easter eggs, and explain how it all connects to the larger Star Wars universe. And today, we are joined by a special guest. She's a former Star Wars editor for Screen Rant and resident Galactic Star Cruiser, Bad Batch, and Mandalorian expert, Molly Brizzell. Welcome, Molly.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for inviting me.
Of course. Okay, So one of the coolest things I've seen, especially coming out of Star Wars Celebration Japan, you got to interview one-on-one the Mandalorian himself, Pedro Pascal, at Star Wars Celebration. Can you tell us just a little bit about that? I mean, that had to be an incredible experience.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'll tell you as much as you want to know. And I always say this never in a way to ever brag, but just because it was such a crazy whirlwind, authentic experience. So really what happened was I had it was only a few weeks notice that I was going to Japan in the first place. My amazing editor, boss, Tom Bacon, he's the best. He was like, "Hey, I'm really pushing for you to go to Japan." And he's like, "Do you have a valid passport?" And I was like, "Well, yes." He was like, "You're going to Japan." So I knew I was going. I knew secretly at that point that Pedro was going. Of course, I couldn't say anything to anybody, but I knew. Right. And so I was like, crossing my fingers, well, maybe I know we were going to have an interview booth. I'm like, maybe I'll get to be in the booth while he's being interviewed or something. That's what I was thinking. And then I landed in Japan on Thursday at 2 p.m. So all the Mandalorian Grogu panel happened Friday morning in Japan time. So I landed at 2 p.m. on Thursday to a text that was like, "Hey, we just found out Pedro's not coming to the interview room and is only on the press line, and we need a reporter for Screen Rant. So will you do it?" And I was like, "Well, yeah, I'll do it. And it's fine. It's all good. I knew I could compose myself in the moment, but I was also like, oh my gosh, because the lore, it just goes so deep. And it was so meaningful because The Mandalorian is how I found Pedro as an actor. Mm-hmm. And I even, back when Mandalorian season 1 finished, I had a fan account. I was posting stuff, and that's how I ended up tweeting a video of me after I got my wisdom teeth out that I mentioned in the interview, and then him seeing it's just everything about this was so full circle, and I was like, okay. And in my brain, I had to tell myself it's not gonna happen though. Right. Tomorrow's gonna come, something's gonna come up, and it's fine. I wasn't even being negative about it because I'm actually a very positive person, but I had to tell myself that because I couldn't be like, oh, right. I'm talking to Din Djarin tomorrow, it's fine. But then, the day came, and less than 24 hours later, I was talking to Pedro, and not just Pedro, but I found out about 10 to 15 minutes before I talked to Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni that I would be talking to them as well. So
yeah,
that was
cool.
Yeah, and I mean, all I can say is good thing I wore my Bad Batch headband because Dave and we bonded over that,
Yeah,
but I mean, it was amazing. Pedro is you can tell just the way you talk to him about this character and role in particular. He's so passionate about it, and he did such a good job dodging my questions because he has to.
Right.
But he was really thoughtful about it, and I was like, "Thank you, King. I'm so honored that you had to dodge my questions and that they were at least hopefully thoughtful." But yeah, I still can't believe it happened. It's crazy, in the time I ordered a Pedro autograph in August 2020, and in the time it took me to get that autograph, which was last month, I met him. By the time I got the autograph, I was like, okay.
That's so cool.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I love it.
That's awesome. How did you enjoy Japan? I've been to Japan. I didn't get to go for Celebration, but
yeah. I mean, I didn't think I was gonna. I never thought I'd go to a Star Wars Celebration period. Definitely not Star Wars Celebration Japan. So I didn't really get to see a ton of Japan because it was really shout out to, I'm still super appreciative to both Screen Rant and Disney for helping me to attend, but it was very I got there and then had to catch up on jet lag and whatnot. And then, day 1, day 2, day 3, and then I flew out Sunday night. So it was just very, very compact, but I mean,
we get that.
it was very, it was just an incredible city. And it was one of those cities too that's like I, was able to just walk around, navigate on my own. And even though I don't know the language, like I was able to get where I was going, and like with all my luggage, never felt like unsafe. It was just wonderful. And like the culture bleeds into everything in like such a wonderful way. I was having these incredible meals at like a train station that was like 5 minutes away from the hotel. It was just it was great. I loved it. And of course, Celebration was just like the best weekend ever. I mean, not just because I got to meet Pedro and John and Dave, who, made my favorite thing in the world, but just meeting all the fans, being in that atmosphere, it's just unmatched. I love Star Wars fans. It just reminded me how much I love Star Wars and how much I love Star Wars fans.
Yeah. That's awesome.
For sure.
One of the things I feel like came across in your interview, specifically of Pedro, was like, I don't know if you feel this too, but there seems to be like a renewed energy surrounding the Mandalorian for him specifically. Like he seemed extra excited for this upcoming movie in a way that, like, not saying that he's never not been excited about the Mandalorian, but it just seemed extra. Like, like he's really proud of this movie. That's something that I feel like I was taken away from everything that I was seeing from that weekend. And that really excites me for the movie of like, ooh, if he's super proud of it and super excited about it, I feel like it's going to be really, really good.
Yeah, you could definitely tell that enthusiasm was just bleeding through. Like, and I cannot emphasize enough, like how much it does translate on the screen, but like in person, you just see it in their eyes and the way that they like speak to you. And he just was like so into it, like with every single person down the entire press line, but like, of course, also with me because we were in our conversation. But it was in my interview where he called it one of the greatest adventure movies ever made. So, I mean, like and I mean, like, actors hype their projects, but it was just like, you're right. There's like this certainty and like excitement that he carries with him about it. And that makes, of course, me and all of us very excited because especially it's been so long since we had new Mandalorian content. So I am just so ready. And you know who else I met very recently too was Brendan Wayne and Lateef Crowder, of course,
love it.
Our famous doubles. And they were incredible, like so amazing to meet, so kind. And they, of course, couldn't like say anything about the movie per se. And I was just there as a fan, but they said, fans of not just The Mandalorian, but also Clone Wars, Bad Batch, and Rebels were all going to be treated. So,
whoa,
you heard it here first. He was very excited because my friend that I went with, we were all geared out in Bad Batch stuff. And he's like, Dave kept telling us to watch the Bad Batch. I was like,
interesting.
Okay, and Dave pointed out the Bad Batch on my headband to Jon Favreau on the carpet. So I don't know, Bad Batch fans, everybody be seated.
Oh my gosh!
Well,
that gets my mind racing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we could do a whole episode on that almost.
Of what you just said. We could just speculate onward. But but before we jump into this episode, I do want to mention. We are aware that there's some rumors out there that another Mandalorian and Grogu trailer may be coming out very, very soon. And by the time this episode comes out, it might already be out. I don't know. So
we've said that before as well, though, and it's come and gone. But
we'll see. But I do want to just kind of like throw that out there while we're talking about the Mandalorian and Grogu. We might be doing some more speculating on the movie based on any footage we might see from that trailer. Because Avatar Fire and Ash is coming out. And so a lot of trailers going to be attached to that. So we'll see what happens. But man, the idea of the Bad Batch impacting the Mandalorian and Grogu movie has my mind goes to Mount Tantus immediately.
Yes.
See, that's honestly what I thought too when like the show itself, like when the Bad Batch ended, I was like, so what are the odds we return to like the carcass of Mount Tantus in The Mandalorian and Grogu, like the remains of what was there? I think that's still a possibility. I do have another theory though, because as I think we all noticed in the trailer that we have so far, Grogu's eating Mantel mix, which is also just generic outpost mix from Batu. So it's like it tends to be a mix, but if it is Mantel mix, maybe that whole scene starts on Ord Mantell, which of course isn't just a Bad Batch Easter egg, but we have spent the most time there in the Bad Batch. So, but I mean, like, honestly, that I would be over the moon if we like saw because I would be like, oh my gosh, well, the Bad Batch did this, and now and it's my world's colliding. I mean, all of our worlds colliding, but y'all know how I feel about Mandalorian Bad Batch. So,
You know, would be even crazier is if, Tamora Morrison saying, yeah, Boba Fett's not going to be showing up, but if someone like Hunter showed up, like who? Old Man Hunter, that would be...
Yeah.
Guys, awesome. I can't even talk about that because Din and Hunter are my two favorite characters, period, of all time. So they're like, I actually made a joke to Dave Filoni about it. I was like, so they're the same person. And then he laughed. And I'm like, so you know exactly what you did. And you set me up. I would literally, awesome. It would be, oh my gosh, we would all lose it. I would love to see that day in the Star Wars fandom.
I can't wait. Can't wait.
Absolutely. Well, we are excited about The Mandalorian and Grogu, and in preparation for the movie coming out next year, we have been doing The Mandalorian Rewatch. And this episode, we're doing Chapter 15, The Believer. And this is one of my favorites. It's one of my absolute favorites, episodes of The Mandalorian. It's one of my favorite episodes of Star Wars television, period. For so many different reasons that we'll get all into here in a little bit, but I think it's about time we get into the breakdown.
Let's jump into it. So our director for this episode is Rick Famuyiwa, the writer also Rick Famuyiwa, and it premiered on December 11th, 2020. And what I love about Rick is that he has such good pacing in his episodes. I feel like his episodes are really well paced. Great action too. Like he is really, really good with the action. There's something about like moving transports and fighting on top of them that really interests him, I think, because with the Jawa scene from the, very first season and now this, very similar, but man, Rick Famuyiwa, so good at directing. I love his influence and his hand on The Mandalorian specifically.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, starting, in season 1, he certainly made an impact there, but I think season 2 really cements him as one of the key voices in The Mandalorian. Yeah. He's up there with John and Dave, I think, in terms of, having his fingerprints on the series. And this episode is, I think, a great showcase of what he can do.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with all that. And I mean, I love that they really cemented that in season 3 by having him join them as executive producer. And this episode is my favorite of The Mandalorian of many, anything really Star Wars has done, period. I mean, there's so many good things to consider, but it's just, I come back to this one every time and I never get sick of it. It's just the writing, especially as a writer myself, looking at the storytelling and the way that everything is interwoven and the way that it's acted out as well. I know we'll get there, but everybody's performances in this episode just continue to blow my mind. And it's also the source of one of my favorite niche trivia questions about The Mandalorian. That is a similar vibe to when people ask trivia questions of oh, what's this droid's name? And I always say, what's Din's fake TK name?
Oh, love
or
it.
number.
Oh. It's 527
the first number. That's so close. It's 593.
Okay,
so close. That was so close though. That was so good.
593. There's something about this episode in particular. I love Andor. Andor is an achievement in Star Wars, and I love The Mandalorian. This feels like kind of a blend of the two, the best of both worlds from those two properties into one. And I think that's what makes this episode work so well is you got everything that you love about The Mandalorian in it, but then you got some really great writing and acting as well in this particular episode that just, it blends in such a way of oh, wow, we're this is a very serious moment in a usually lighthearted show. And it just, I don't know. It just so works for me. So let's get into it. I'm ready to talk about this. So the recap pulls from 3 key moments. The first one being Moff Gideon's season 1 monologue about order, and also just saying, you have no idea how much he means to me, right? He has to kind of drop that line. So we get to the end of the episode, we see Din kind of reverse that. The events of the previous episode, of course, and then chapter 6, the prisoner reestablishing Mayfeld as untrustworthy but useful. So just kind of getting that back in our minds about who he is. But our opening visual is a transport gliding over a scrapyard of Imperial wreckage. The environment kind of mirrors Jedi Fallen Order in a way, of Braca and the Bad Batch. Yeah, like when they're just breaking down all this Imperial tech that they don't really need anymore. And so not just visually, but thematically, the Empire has fallen, but their bones are being stripped for parts, right? So this isn't just victory, it's cleanup. And it's just kind of an interesting look on like how the New Republic operates and how they dole out punishment to former Imperials and stuff. So
yeah, I was immediately kind of thinking about what we see here in the opening and juxtaposing that with Narkina 5 from Andor. And seeing, prison is prison. It's not a place you want to be regardless of what side of things. But if I got to choose between the two, I definitely want to be, jailed by the New Republic because it seems like,
it's dirtier.
The robots actually give you a few warnings before implementing shocks and things like that. So, just seems a little more humane, even though it's still definitely not somewhere you want to be.
Yeah, I think it's interesting actually that it is very similar to the labor camp we do see in the Bad Batch season 3 on Erebus, which is that's two different entities. That's the Empire versus New Republic. It's kind of silly, though. Of course, the Empires were definitely worse conditions, and they were working in those masks, and they couldn't even understand each other. There was no help facilitating, but like the jumpsuits, everything was super similar. And I made an earlier note, like saying, like, "Oh yeah, Imperial labor camp." Then I'm like, wait. But that's not Empire. So that's very interesting. But I kind of love all these different, like, similar but also different looks at what prisoners are up to in Star Wars, and what these different ruling governments or regimes, how they handle the prisoners, and the difference of, like you said, like Narkina 5 versus something like this. And it's interesting.
And it's interesting on Narkina 5, they're building a weapon of mass destruction, and on here the chop fields, they're breaking it all down, right? So it's like those two things are happening with very different aims. So we're introduced to the chop fields, prisoners dismantling the Imperial war machines under control of New Republic security droids. Visual irony is deliberate. The New Republic now oversees punishment camps using old Imperial infrastructure. The prisoners are working and wearing jumpsuits that are later recreated, like you said, in the Imperial labor camp on Erebus in the Bad Batch season 3, which is so cool. Like, that's, again, what I think makes the Bad Batch work so well is that there's not just like a story connection to the Mandalorian. Like, I think it's fairly obvious, like the story is connected. There's a visual connection throughout as well of like, I think you're totally right when you told Dave like they're the same character and he kind of laughed. I think that's on purpose.
Yes. And I mean, I'm the one who fell for it. Like, I feel like I'm just the example of like, well, because they're both my favorite things, because they have the same elements that I love, and like both of them, and they visually look the same in many ways, and like, and of course never in a way where it's like, one is better than the other, or like, that it's one's copying the other. That's not how it works in Star Wars. It's like poetry, it rhymes. But like, just this especially was just, from the second we had Point of No Return, to go back to y'all's episode last week, and the previous episode before this one, in the tragedy, like, I'm like, oh my gosh, the ship's destroyed and now they're stuck, and now there's this and this, like, they don't know what the coordinates are. Like, I just knew what was coming. And it's just cool that, like, even visually we start, or at least have very similar, groundwork laid, where it's like, this is where we're at. It's just cool. Yeah. I feel like they're like very spiritually sister shows. Yes. And that makes me very happy.
Yeah. And that's, I don't know, that there's something really kind of interesting that maybe we should look at on a deeper level before the Mandalorian and Grogu comes out, of like, what can we learn from the Bad Batch and then apply it forward to where the Mandalorian and the Mandoverse is going, because there's clearly a connection there. But Mayfeld is pulled from the work line by a New Republic security droid and ordered to report for transfer. Cara Dune steps in and formally takes custody of him, bending New Republic rules to make it happen. Mayfeld's kind of confused. He's distrustful, and he's a little resistant until he sees Slave One, and then he sees Fennec Shand come out. he sees Boba Fett come out. He's got the new kind of paint job on his armor, by the way. It looks sweet, looks great.
Yeah.
And at first he's thinking, oh, wow, I thought you were someone else. And then Boba kind of moves out of the way and Din walks down and there's Din and he sees him and is like, oh God. The shift in his face when he realizes Din is there is key because he's expecting punishment, right? Like he's thinking, oh, he's come to kill me for what I've done. But that's not the case because Din's line is, you still know your Imperial clearance and protocols, don't you? And then Mayfeld kind of realizes, okay, what we're about to do is not an option. I can't just stay here. They're going to make me come whether really I want to or not. And I just love this opening. And it also kind of establishes Din in that leader role. And like, I was wondering, I remember back when this first came out and, the tragedy had ended. I was wondering, okay, now that Boba is with Din, is there going to be some sort of power struggle between the two of like who's in charge? Boba like totally lets Din lead everything in this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that has to come just from his years working as a bounty hunter and being, in various teams and stuff like that. I think he realizes that this is Din's hunt, so to speak. And he's there to help and support, and he's kind of staying out of the way.
Yeah.
I love the new look. I'd like to say that Bill Burr is just the last person I expected to be one of the most emotionally impactful characters in The Mandalorian, I think. And it starts here. I love the comedic beats that he's of course able to hit. And then the range he displays is just continues through the episode. So
yeah, I was gonna say the same thing. Like, give Bill Burr his flowers. Like, I know we will get to that later, but like, starting here, there's just like, you're like, wait, this is, and it's not like, that's not to say you wouldn't ever expect it out of someone like Bill Burr. It's just like, it's a completely different thing. We know that, it wasn't like he was super into Star Wars before he joined. It's just like, it is incredible. But going back to like Boba Fett a bit, I on the serious note first, I like to think almost that scene of, where it's like Boba and then he steps aside for Din, not in like a way where Boba Fett has to step aside for Din, but it kind of felt almost like a passing the torch moment, because I do think that Din's story has kind of been like our canon iteration in many ways of what Boba, accomplished. And of course, I still think that Boba can have his own story in canon and should, continued on from Book of Boba Fett, but it kind of almost felt like that generational, like, passing the torch where, those who grew up with the original trilogy had Boba, and now this generation has Din and Mando and stuff. So, I mean, like, that could be me overthinking. I have seen this episode too many times to count, but
no,
I love that.
On this podcast.
True. And but like his armor too, though, I love the thought of him like Din having full mental breakdown, and then Boba's just like painting his armor like, hey, is this shade of green good? Or
what do you guys think of this? Does this look pretty good?
And he's like whispering, he's whispering to Fennec like, hey, can you pass me that paintbrush? Because Din like frozen in the corner.
Yeah. I think you should wear the black underneath, not the tan. Yeah.
And it's like Din opposite quietly.
My stencil kit. Where are my stencils? Because he's got the fresh markings on there. Yeah. I love that. No, but I think that's an amazing observation about the sort of the generational passing of the torch. You're so right that Din does fulfill the role of Boba Fett in so many ways, just being that man of mystery but intrigue for sure. And then we've go ahead, sorry.
Oh no, you're fine. I interrupted you. But it's almost kind of like he's weirdly, I don't know, like weirdly, but like Jango and Boba, because Jango, is the mysterious father figure of Boba, and Din is like a father figure, but he has Boba elements, like both being foundlings. It's like if you took Jango and silver armor, that very important. You take Jango and Boba, it's like Din Djarin.
You're right. You're totally
so
right.
True. So true.
You're totally right. So then we get the title card, and we see that it's called The Believer. And I think one of the questions going into the episode, if you're watching it for the first time, is who is the Believer? But if you're listening, you probably have seen this episode several times like we have. And so what I love about this particular title is that it works on several different levels, right? So Din believes in the creed, but that belief is kind of now fractured by what he has to do in this episode. Mayfeld once believed in the Empire. The Imperials believe that they're still the rightful order. Even freedom fighters, pirates, and civilians believe in survival over politics. And so, like, this episode is about belief systems collapsing under reality of, like, when you really put it to the test, what do you actually believe? You know? And so, like, I think that's what the theme of this episode just, like, resonates within your soul almost. And, like, that's why this episode in particular is so impactful.
Yeah, and I do love how the believer, like, itself is an open-ended question. Who's the believer? Right. Is it Din in his creed? Is it Valen Hess in the imperial ideals? Yeah. Is it Mayfeld who believes in nothing really? That so he claims. You know, like, it's such a cool way of, like, kind of just showing all these different perspectives and how they clash, which of course all comes to a climactic rise at the table scene that we will get to. But like, I'm so bad at titling when I have to title things, and, like, to have a title like that just encompasses everything, and, like, really it's just so good. And, like, good. All those points too, just love it.
All right, so let's get into the plan formation. Inside Slave One's rotating cargo hold, which, by the way, getting to see that whole section of the ship is so cool. Come on.
Yeah.
Love that. Din asks for Gideon's cruiser coordinates. Mayfeld initially refuses until he hears Grogu is involved. And so, like, we start to see Mayfeld does kind of have a heart of, like, okay, he's got a tough exterior, but when he does realize that the child is in trouble, I think he starts to realize, like, okay, this is a worthy cause. This is something that we should do. And so he explains that they'll need an access to an internal Imperial terminal. And so there is one on Morak. It's a hidden Imperial Rhydonium mining hub. And how cool that Rhydonium came back into, Star Wars just this year with Andor season 2, Saw Gerrera.
Yeah.
Breathe it in. I love that layer of continuity though. And the fact that we have more lore to go on in the rewatch than we did the first time around with Rhydonium. It's one of those things that has made the rewatch. Yeah, we didn't know that.
Let it run wild.
That is such a good impression. I'm sorry.
We do it a lot on the podcast.
It's a lot. That one, Akbar, I think, is a pretty.
It just hits different hearing it, like, live. I'm like, wow.
But
so you got a really cool point about Morak that we did not know this before the podcast. Do you want to bring that up, Molly?
For sure. Well, if you know me, or even if you don't, I worked at the Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser for about 8 months right before it closed. Some of the best 8 months of my life. And I would do everything I could have to show every Star Wars fan what the inside of that place looked like, because it was really like $1 million movie set. It was crazy. But we had this part of the ship called the engineering room, and it was basically like a room of little mini games in the downstairs section of the ship. So it was on deck 4, I believe. The details are starting to slip. It's been a minute, but it was mainly geared towards kids, and it was like all these different systems around the ship that you would have to try to, like, fix. And if you fix them all at the same time, like, the ship would be like, it would, like, turn green, and then everything would break down again. And one of those stations was a Rhydonium fuel station, and there were 4 different planets listed. Now, I'm a little fuzzy on the other 3 because I didn't have a lot of reason to remember them, but Morak was one of them, and it was one of the only Mandalorian specific Easter eggs on the entire Halcyon, which is, if you don't know the name of the Galactic Star Cruiser in universe. And so I used to be in the engineering room sometimes by myself, just like, it's Morak, and it's cool because that implies the story of the Halcyon, at least at that point, was around the sequel trilogy era. So it implies that they were actively getting Rhydonium out of Morak around that time, or at least at some point in their 275 years of operation. So it was very interesting. It was one of my favorite parts of the ship. And now every time I watch it, I'm like, it's like a fun little connection.
We can pretend that it stopped by Morak right before this episode.
Yeah.
Got some
Yeah.
rhydonium.
Oh yeah, for sure. Like it's just a fuel up, and then like as
Yeah.
they're in atmosphere, all this starts happening. Like they
Yeah,
pass Slave One in
The
atmosphere.
sonic charges. Like, whoa.
Yup.
Yeah. So during all this, Finnick looks towards Mayfeld throughout these scenes, and it feels intentional, like she's measuring him. And then Boba confirms planet scan shows heavy defenses. Rhydonium is highly volatile. And then we start to get a visual once we get there, right? It's a jungle planet, and it's really cool jungle planet. We see Juggernaut transports below, slow, they're armored, they're deliberate. And we're going to realize that this is not a stealth mission. This is not one of those missions that you can just like infiltrate, hope that you can get what you need to get and get out. This seems like it's going to be kind of complicated. So Mayfeld explains XISB run these bases. That's not good, right? These are the spooks of the Empire. They know everything. They know every secret. They know all this stuff, right? Kara can't go because she's a New Republic former dropper, right? She, so New Republic genetic scan risk. Finnick can't go. ISB wants her, obviously. Boba won't go. And I love his line here. And the delivery is so good. He's like, they might recognize my face.
Yeah. To the point to that quote really quick. I like that being such an obvious clone joke, and also for like just him being him, but like the clone joke is so good. And I'm, of course, like around the time Bad Batch season 1 came out, when Fennec came across the Bad Batch for the first time, I was like, oh my, this makes it funnier, because Fennec, it has come across these clones. And even now, like too, after she helped like Hunter and Wrecker again in season 3, like I know she's so sick of these clones, and she's like, if I had a nickel for every time that I helped, adoptive fathers of a child captured by the Empire, I'd have 2 nickels. And it's just, I love to think about that moment. And she's just standing there like, how many clone jokes is this guy gonna make? And
part of me wonders too if like the reason she's so comfortable around Boba is because of the Bad Batch.
I would love that. Yeah.
Like she just kind of feels like, okay, there's some similarities here. Obviously they're different people, but like I feel comfortable around him. And so that's maybe why they work so well together, is because of her past with the Bad Batch. I like to think so. Anyway.
I would love that so much. That'd make my heart so happy.
Yeah, let's just go with that. That's what it is. Yeah. So at this moment, Din realizes he's got to be the one to go. Like, right? Nobody else can go but him, because nobody's really seen his face before. So he sees the drivers wear helmets. Choice is made. He's going to go without his armor, and he's going to be concealed in the Stormtrooper transport armor, transport co-pilot, which I love that design. You've got the toy there.
I got it. Yep. He's actually got his helmet on and now helmet off, but it's right here with me. I also love the armor design, and I know I definitely was not the only person thinking this when that moment happened. But the second I saw those helmets, I was like, oh, the helmet's coming off this episode. Like not even like it's coming off screen. Like we're going to see his face. I just like knew in the pit of my stomach. And, I was watching this for the first time at 3 a.m. Like the fans we are. And I was like, oh my gosh, like there's no way, but like they're going to do it. And I love how they build it up, starting with this moment where you're just like, surely not, but also like, it's so good.
By the way, do you miss kind of waking up that early to watch it? I do.
I do like, and it's still funny to me that they switched to 9 p.m. premiere times for live action shows, literally right after season 3 finished. And that was funny because like for season 3, I was working at Star Cruiser when it came out. So like I would like wake up at 3 a.m., watch my Mandalorian episode right away, and watch Bad Batch season 2 while it was still coming out at the same time. And then I would go to work at my Star Wars job at the Star Cruiser, and I wouldn't be able to talk about it because technically the Mandalorian show doesn't exist, because that is our history. So I'd have to be like, oh, I learned this new historical story. and like it was just,
you guys remember when
I should have gotten in way more trouble for the amount of times I brought up like Din Djarin and the Darksaber and everything. Like I really should have gotten in more trouble, because they should have been like, you wouldn't know that, but I branded myself as a Mandalorian historian, and then I got away with it. But yeah, it was just something about like waking up at 3 a.m. for like with that excitement of just like, oh my god, what's gonna happen. It was so special. And I mean, Was I devastated the one Mandalorian episode for season 3 where like I had to watch Tech die after? Yeah. That was horrible because it was also like 3 days after my birthday. But you know, it was still special because it was like 4 a.m.
Right.
Yep.
I don't know. I just kind of miss it a little bit.
Yeah.
Sometimes.
For sure. It was a good way to start a random weekday every week for several weeks.
Yeah.
Yes.
It was. All right. So let's get into this Juggernaut infiltration sequence. Kara and Finnick secure the roof. Mayfeld complains about the smell inside the trooper armor. Din emerges in tank trooper gear, visibly uncomfortable. Like you can see he doesn't really like wearing this at all.
I mean, it's probably been the first time he's been without his armor, armor in years, you know?
Yeah.
I know he's only had this particular suit for a little bit, but you know, out of the helmet especially.
I don't know where we're going with the movie, and you know, I doubt that they'll go in this direction. But if the character continues for a while, we do more movies or season 4 or whatever, I would love an extended period where his armor is taken away from him.
Yes.
And then like, what does that mean to you? How do you still be a Mandalorian without your armor? I want to see that.
Yeah.
That would be an incredible follow-up to a lot of the questions we'll get into in this episode.
Like, is he wearing like a half like cloth mask under, you know what I'm saying? Like how cool. There'd just be ways of where I see like he's trying to still maintain how he's supposed to be as a Mandalorian because of the Children of the Watch, but then like really grappling with what does it mean to be a Mandalorian, like truly.
Yeah, no, and I could get so off track with this, so I'll like reel it in, but like something I've always wanted to do is like, or at least like see, even if it's just like a moment in their house on Navarro, you know, where it's just like we're relaxed. Like what does life look like with that? But I love that concept of like him having something like that, you know, only his eyes are visible. But I've also always wanted to see him like fight without his helmet.
Same.
Because I think that would just be so, because let Pedro do the face acting too. Exactly. Like he's so talented with his eyes and his face and everything, which we see in this episode and will come up. But like, it's so the idea of like being forced from that almost like safety net of his armor is so compelling. And two, it's like very interesting how, and you see it in this episode in the middle of the fight. I feel like I'm getting a little bit ahead, but like,
no, you're good.
You know, he uses his arms and as if he has his armor and then it shatters and he has to realize, oh, like I'm, you know, so vulnerable right now. And it's like that vulnerability can just be so compelling. And I would absolutely love it if we had like, you know, like you said, an extended period of time that also forces himself to be like, because I've always wanted a moment where we find out what's really going on with the Children of the Watch. Not that I don't believe, you know, that
we're with
people,
you.
But something. And because we still don't know why Ben's village was attacked. Why was Aquatina attacked? And I think, I mean, like, and I don't know, I've debated timeline stuff and whatever, but like, I personally think if it was Death Watch there, why would they be there? You know, fighting separatist droids, if not a part of a setup that was a part of establishing heroic identity.
Interesting.
Just saying, I don't think it lines up perfectly. There's stuff that's just been one of my theories for like years, but like just something like that, something sinister that's just not quite right. And I would love for him to find out. And then he has to question again in the way that a lot of us thought he was doing here. And that would be like a great time for it. What if he just set aside the armor? It was like, I just need time to be like me. Like Din Djarin, who am I without this?
Yeah.
And that would just be.
I don't know. There's something exciting about that. We talked about that a little bit on the last episode, the tragedy. He has a tendency to just take blaster bolts and just kind of go, bah, 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 right? Like, and just take it. Doesn't even hide. He just takes it. You can't do that anymore without armor, right?
Yeah.
Like you can't do stuff like that. So it kind of like you're talking about, like on the transport, it forces you to rethink what you're doing. But so in this moment, Din hands over his Beskar to Kara. She kind of gives him like a reassuring nod, like knowing how hard it is for him to like do this and like, I've got it. I'm going to take care of it. And then Mayfeld's line is, what would they say on Mandalore? Like he's kind of ribbing him a little bit, giving him a hard time. And this is really the first time Din willingly leaves his armor behind. So that's a huge deal, number one, right? Like what he's willing to do for Grogu. We're seeing it right here.
Yeah.
But inside the transport, there's silence, right? Like I think he's a little mad at Mayfeld for like giving him such a hard time. He doesn't really like him. You get the rattling engine. You see the jungle ahead. But then the dialogue begins shifting tone here because Mayfeld sees that he has an opportunity to kind of maybe get under his skin a little bit or like kind of get to know who he is as a person. And so he starts pushing, like, how does it feel to wear someone else's face? Removes his helmet so he can see, right? Like he's doing these little things, I think, to intentionally see like how far is he willing to go with this, and just kind of see that. And so he starts to frame his ideology here. He starts talking about the Empire versus New Republic, how it's really just kind of part of the same cycle. Like these people on Morak, they don't really care who's in charge because it seems like it's the same no matter what. You're going to say something, Mac?
Yeah.
It reminds me a lot of DJ from The Last Jedi.
Yeah.
Benicio del Toro's character, just because he's talking about how like, the same people are getting rich, like it's the same. So I think Mayfeld here is ideologically very similar to DJ.
You're right.
At least on the surface. I think if you really, we see later if you really push him, maybe things are different, but just The Last Jedi, a lot of the themes and questions that the Canto Bite sequence brings up, I was just reminded of that here.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so then we get a key exchange here. Mayfeld says, is it you that can't take off your Mando helmet or you can't show your face? Like, what's the difference? Because that's actually a pretty good question. And I think we learn in season 3, like, Mandalorians are, like, very technical about, like, who's in charge of something, who's in not, you know what I'm saying? Like, especially with the Darksaber. So, like, it is kind of an interesting question of, like, is the rule you can't take off your helmet or is the rule you can't show your face?
Yeah.
Right? And I don't know if Din's ever actually considered that before.
So I think in season 1, the armorer specifically asks Din if he's ever removed his helmet or had his helmet forcibly removed by an opponent, right? I think that's her specific verbiage.
It is. Yeah.
So I really think Din has even already kind of started to cross his lines here.
Yeah.
I think Mayfeld's just pointing out that he is kind of just doing what he can to hold on. Like it's it's going to get into the theme of this entire episode, I think, which is like, is following a specific set of rules to the letter what makes you a thing, or is it the pursuit of the general idea, and maybe it's more about the ends instead of the means and everything like that. So I think Din has already kind of crossed the Rubicon a little bit.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. And I think that's probably making him super uncomfortable in this ride, right? Of like, let's stop talking about this. But Mayfeld keeps talking. So we get to the Juggernaut to the village, and they start kind of slowing down through the village, and we see a boy staring at Din, kind of mirroring, I think, a foundling. Like I think in Din's mind, he's seeing himself as a kid a little bit as they pass by, of like, that could have been me, what are they thinking? But they don't see any Imperial flags, no New Republic banners, just kind of people living harshly, surviving no matter who's really coming through. And then Mayfeld's worldview in this moment kind of lands right here. He says, these people don't care who claims power. They just want less war here. And this kind of reframes later. I question, like, are these pirates who are attacking, are they actually pirates, or are they just like insurgents? Are they just trying to get these people off of their planet,
Yeah. And I love how it's all framed by the Rhydonium, right?
Yeah.
Like, and like talked about with Saga River earlier, like this kind of, honestly, y'all bringing it up kind of like gave me this breakthrough. I was like, whoa, like the Rhydonium in this totally symbolizes that quiet, volatile power that's just in Mayfeld specifically, because he's the one who literally ignites the Rhydonium. Like that fire is lit by what he's seeing, and it could blow at any moment. And like these people, it's the same. Like Mayfeld's insisting, oh, they don't care, but no, clearly there are insurgents among them who are fighting back, and they're trying, and that Rhydonium is being lit, literally. It's just really cool how all the layers happen, and also to pin quickly too on the helmet conversation too. I think we're right, and Din was slipping, and the first foreshadowing is him lifting it enough to sip soup in chapter 12 as well. Like that, does that count? Does it not? That's like the first time we were like, and even Grogu was like,
some chin action.
Is that and my beloved chin gate. I don't know if y'all know fandom, but we called it chin gate because the fans were debating for like a full week. Whose chin is it? And the answer is Brendan Wade. Okay, which is very nice that he gets a little kind of face moment, but it is so funny that everybody was like, no, because it's bearded, so it's Pedro. But then it's it's not thick enough to be Latif's beard. I was like, oh my gosh, guys, it was just so I love
Star Wars fans.
It's good.
Me too.
It's good.
So then we get to this pirate ambush sequence, and we start hearing juggernauts explode over the radio, and they realize, okay, so the way that this is set up is almost like a video game, right? This is totally a video game situation where you can only go a certain speed. If you go too hard, you're going to explode. You got to pull back at some points and stuff. So it's like, oh, I think I've played this before on something. I've totally done this before. But then as those transports ahead of them start exploding, then they get attacked. Hover sled attackers emerge. Again, it's a gameplay type feel. Din gets on top of the juggernaut. Mayfeld maintains speed because the Rhydonium is a ticking time bomb. And so we see Din kind of switch his tactics on top of the juggernaut, right? He starts with the blaster, maybe not a great idea with the Rhydonium. When he runs out, he throws the blaster at one of the pirates. Then he starts using one of their spears, and then it's just brute force, right? He's just beating these guys up. And it's really an incredible action sequence. It is a very, very thrilling sequence.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like the train top or truck top fight sequence is almost a Lucasfilm staple. I was very reminded of Indiana Jones stuff in this. It also is reminding me of Solo and the train action there. I know this is not exactly a train, but it's train-like enough. Train
but adjacent.
The thing that got me was just how persistent the quote unquote pirates were. They just kept coming. And they also they're only armed with spears in most cases, right? I feel like unless this is their absolute first raid, if they are pirates, usually they've got, you kind of invest in the tools of the trade first, right? They'd probably have some blasters and stuff like that. This definitely seems a whole lot more like a group of freedom fighters only got the credits together to get the thermal detonators.
Or we stole just one crate of them.
Right. Yeah. And these are these could be just farming sleds,
Yeah. And I love how the way that they tell Din's story with his armor and everything, and his blaster not working, he's put on their same playing field. He has to be resourceful. We are forced to kind of see Din at his warrior peak because he's, he doesn't have his armor, he doesn't have his weapons, he doesn't have his Imperial weapons. His Imperial armor is garbage, as we've learned. So now it's well, what do we do? And we see he can still, save the day. And, it's just, I love this fight sequence. It might be my favorite in the whole show.
It's so good. It's a great, and I love how it ends because we never get to see the Empire painted as heroes. Obviously, we know why. But when those two TIE fighters come in and how heroic sounding the music is and how they just kind of destroy the pirates, it makes you that's kind of cool. I'm not going to lie. I know there's the bad guys, but this is such a cool moment.
It's definitely an interesting shift in perspective. And it almost kind of drives home that the roles have switched a little bit. Like the Empire is kind of now the underdog, like the rebellion was.
Yeah.
Like obviously we're not rooting for them in the same, you know, like we're an anti-Empire podcast.
Right.
But like, yeah, just the shift in perspective is really interesting. You know, to get a glimpse of what it is like to be a stormtrooper experiencing a moment of triumph or celebrating one of your own that has done something heroic. It's just it does kind of make you stop and think a little bit. It's weird.
Yeah, it's interesting. It kind of reminds me of some of the sequences from the Alphabet Squadron books of like, oh, okay, just kind of seeing the Empire in a new light and this new underdog role that they have and how they fight in that underdog role. We're going to talk about that and how sometimes they might get a little vicious with Operation Cinder. We're getting to that. So they get to the base. The stormtroopers are cheering as they arrive. They're heroes. They're like the only shipment of Rhydonium that actually made it to the base today. Rough day at work. But they get into the officers' mess where the Imperial terminal is. And immediately Mayfeld identifies the terminal location and they spot Valen Hess, which great bad guy name. Wonderful name for a villain, Valen Hess. Come on. That is awesome. Love that. But we also see something's wrong with Mayfeld whenever he sees Valen Hess. He kind of freezes up a little bit. There's like a trauma there that maybe we're unaware of. There's fear, there's memory. He can't go in. Like as soon as he sees him, he's like, I can't do this. So Din makes the decision alone. Din enters the mess. The terminal scan fails because he keeps his helmet on. So it just goes over his helmet. Not working, obviously. So he doesn't actually like debate it long. He takes it right off. And this is, I think, the biggest character moment of the season. Like it's bigger than when he takes it off before Luke takes Grogu, because like this is him like actually crossing the line for him of like, okay, I'm going to actually show my face to everyone here. So I think this is a huge moment.
Yeah, I honestly, like you said, I kind of feel like, well, not even kind of, I feel like this is the bigger moment than that moment with with Luke, even though that's a room full of people he knows. This is a room full of people he doesn't know. He is completely alone. He's not doing this actively, like, you know, with Grogu there to see him. He's doing this purposely because he's making a choice that Grogu is more important than his creed. He knows the consequences of what's going to result, and he's choosing to do it anyway. And it's even more significant because we saw in season 1 that he would have rather died than break his creed, which means that by breaking his creed for Grogu means more to him than his own life by like tenfold, because Grogu means more to him than the thing that he would have rather died for. So what does that say about how much he loves Grogu? And I had a conversation with Brendan Wayne about this for a Screen Rant interview last year. And he said a similar sentiment where he was talking about the helmet being removed. And he was like, it was such an act of love. And I know that people are upset that the helmet didn't come off more after this. But like, think about it. The more you say, I love you to people, it's going to feel less special to that person that you said it to, the first time. And that's same thing here. Like the impact of this one, even though Grogu never saw it, we don't know if he ever told Grogu that he did it. This is like just, it's that moment, and it's just how much he truly loves Grogu, and it just will never fail to blow my mind that you can see it all the moment that helmet comes off in Pedro's eyes, the conflict and like the determination and like the guilt, everything is just there. It's just so good.
It's so good.
Yeah. It's also, I mean, in addition to just kind of the personal battle of choosing between Grogu and the Creed, I also think Din is having to choose between elements of the Creed, because his love for Grogu, like he has been tasked and quested with guiding this foundling in the way, whatever that ends up meaning. And of course it kind of changes, the goal changes a little bit as time goes on, but so I think it's Din deciding that honoring that part of the Creed, the part that this other being depends on, and that I have immense love for and everything. Fighting for that is maybe more important about being a Mandalorian, or at least being honorable, than following these little like technical rules, So I think it's Din just kind of having to widen his perspective in a big way, outside the strictness of exactly what he thought the way was. I think he's discovering the way might be a lot broader than he initially
that was wonderfully well put, and I think it also does pay off in the future, because we see in the Book of Boba Fett when he's talking about the Jedi, but I honestly think that it's what he feels in himself, is when the armor is asking him about Grogu, and she's like, oh, I thought you gave him away to the Jedi and whatever, and Din was like, well, loyalty and solidarity are the way, that's a main part of our creed, and that this is the ultimate act of loyalty and solidarity is giving up everything for Grogu. And then of course in season 3 saying that rescuing a foundling is like the highest honor of the tribe, and here he's breaking the rule, everything, to save a foundling. And it's not just to save the foundling and get honor, it's because he can't fathom a galaxy where Grogu's lost to him. So it's just it's such it all ties together. It really does. And it's just so it all in this moment, it blows my mind.
It's so good. It's so good. So in this moment, when we see his face, all brown eyes, he retrieves Gideon's coordinates. He learns where Gideon actually is, but then Hess confronts him. Mayfeld steps in because Din doesn't really know what to say. He's giving the wrong answer. Mayfeld kind of steps in and gives him oh, here's the reason. He's a little hard of hearing because it was damaged in the Battle of Tanab, which is really cool. That's kind of a really deep cut of Lando Calrissian is known for that battle. So it's oh, that's cool. So I love that. And then Hess insists that they join him for a drink. And then we enter into such a tense exchange here. And the lighting in this scene is also very significant, I feel like, because it's halfway illuminating Din's face, the side that's vulnerable to Valen Hess, and he's shadowed on the side of facing Mayfeld. This kind of seems to represent the divide and conflict within himself. So it's I feel like they did that so intentionally. Maybe they didn't, and it just kind of we're just reading into that, but hey, that's what we do.
No,
it's so sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I'd like to take a second just to point out Robert Brake, who is playing Hess here. Fantastic, just despicable bad guy performance. That's kind of what he does. I saw him in the movie Barbarian in October when I was watching a bunch of spooky horror movies. He's playing kind of the monster in that. But he just does a great job playing off of Bill Burr and Pedro, and he his evil makes our heroes so much more endearing.
And it's hard to feel like there's a true threat around a hero like Din, who we have seen literally get swallowed whole by a crate dragon and survive 2 seconds later. How do you make a threat enough for him? And yes, he's in a vulnerable moment, so without his helmet he already feels less of that, if that makes sense. But this feels terrifying, I remember the first time I was watching this, I was like, what is gonna happen? And so that's huge kudos to him, like you said. And I do have to add too that the Brown Eyes nickname, I've always loved that. And I, again, as the resident Mandalorian Bad Batch person, the only other person in Star Wars having the Brown Eyes nickname being Tech, it just makes my heart happy, and it makes sense to me. And I love that Tech has kind of taken it more thanks to Sanctuary. Shout out Lamar Giles. But I love it. It's just, and the soundtrack song for this scene is called Brown Eyes. So it's just I love all that.
It's so good. And so what I love too about this scene is they acknowledge a lot of that post Return of the Jedi lore that was built up in the lead up to The Force Awakens, right? So they talk about Operation Cinder, which we learn a lot about in Battlefront 2, specifically the campaign in Battlefront 2, which I've had a yearning to replay that campaign. Ooh, man, what a fun campaign that is. We learn about that a lot in the Aftermath books, which we are big fans of. Galley Serax. Oh man, I love that guy. He's so evil. But Mayfeld reveals his wounds. There was an issue. There's a situation on Burn Khan in which he was a part of, and so was Valen Hess. They lost their entire division. So many civilian deaths on Burn Khan, and Mayfeld is really putting this at the feet of Valen Hess. Like, he's the guy who kind of made the call on all of this. But Hess reframes it as something that was super necessary. And so Hess's ideology is this, that order is more important over freedom. Like, order is the most important thing. And he's using the word order a lot. Like, and I have a feeling like the writer, like, I guess Rick and John and Dave are trying to, like, first order. Like, we're getting there, right? Like, they're using that kind of terminology already in the Empire. So I think that's kind of interesting of like, okay, we're seeing the seeds of the First Order being talked about right here, but then also talking about how fear is stability. People actually want change, like, right? Like they actually want people to tell them what to do. And so that's kind of his ideology. And I feel like this is the moment when Mayfeld changes, and Din knows it. Din can't stop it, right? Like, you see it on Pedro's face. This is really actually incredible acting from everyone at this table.
Yes.
And one of the great things Pedro does in this is, like, he doesn't say anything, but you can see it all on his face, right? Of like, what are you doing? Like, even that there's moments when he's like looking at Mayfeld of like, shut up, don't do this, you know?
Bill Burr. Oh, go ahead, Molly.
You're good. I was going to say, I'm so glad you brought that up, because I was going to say the same thing, where, like, it is a conversation between three people, but only two people talk. Din does not say a word after Mayfeld walks up at all. And yet it feels like he does, because of the way that he speaks. And as some, like, I can't imagine how hard it is to act like you've worn a helmet your whole life through your, like, most important development. But Pedro does it so well because he doesn't hide anything, because he's never had to, you know, like the expressions are so, like,
that's a great point.
When you don't have to hide what you're feeling, like, that's all going on there. And even the way, if you, like, really pay attention to the way he moves his head, he doesn't just, like, you know, move his eyes, like, he moves his whole head, because he's so used to having to move with the helmet. It's so good. It's so meticulous. Of course, gotta, you know, boast for Pedro, but the between, you know, also like everything between Mayfeld and Hess is just like the back and forth, and like it's just so good. But please continue, Mac. What were you gonna say?
Oh, I was just gonna say there's like, I knew that Mayfeld was gonna shoot Hess like 2 seconds before he actually did it, because of just the expression. And you know, I love, like, and I think, you know, Din can also sense that moment happen, and just the tension in this, and it really drives home, you know, the personal horrors that the Empire has inflicted on people, and just how detached the people ordering those things can remain. And I think that just that, like, I think Mayfeld cannot comprehend how someone can be that removed from that much suffering, and just has to eliminate that dissonance in his head.
That's such a good point. And like in the show, like The Mandalorian too, where you have like Moff Gideon being the big bad, it can be really easy to be like, okay, well, you know, here's one person, you know, who really just is evil, but then here's this random guy at this random refinery on this random planet, and he's just as horrible, if not more so. And it's like, oh, like, this is, you know, through the whole, and we know that as the viewers, because we watched the Empire do horrible things for, you know, like the almost 50 years of this franchise. But as somebody living in that universe, like, especially someone like Mayfeld, who used to be a part of it, he's realizing, oh, this is how, like, they're so out of touch. And
And I think too, in this moment when he pulls out the blaster and shoots Hess, there's like, he's killing that part of himself too. Of like, I'm eliminating what I don't like about myself by killing this guy. And so he shoots him. And then there's just this silence. There's a beat of silence wherever, you know, Din's looking at Mayfeld, Mayfeld's looking at Din. And And then they look behind them. The guy with the lunch tray is like, what just happened? And then everything breaks, right? This scene is one of the greatest Star Wars scenes, in my opinion. It just kind of lingers with you after you watch it. And it has been that way ever since I've watched it. But then we get into the escape part. So they fight their way out. Cara and Finnick provide sniper cover from above.
Watching them methodically work is such a joy.
Yeah.
And I love them just getting to kind of hang out together for a little bit. They work great together.
Yeah. And then Slave One arrives, classic Boba entrance. Mayfeld fires. So they get after they run and jump onto Slave One, and they get up there. He gets the cycler rifle, the Tatooine cycler rifle, and he fires into the Rhydonium, and the entire facility explodes. But of course, TIE fighters pursue them. And then as they're exiting, one of the greatest moments as well, I just watched Attack of the Clones last night. Boba deploys the sonic charge, and just, oh my God, it's so good. What a sound.
Yep. It's
what
great.
A sound.
It's one of the greatest sounds in all of film.
Thank you, Skywalker sound. That's, God.
Skywalker sand. Skywalkers hate sand, actually, Alex.
Wow, yeah, you're right. All right, so then we get back into the jungle, and Mayfeld's kind of wondering, like, am I going to go back to the chop fields? And Cara kind of is like, okay, you served your part by doing this. And she kind of reframes it as an unfortunate death. Like he died in this mission. Din agrees. So this matters because Din now understands the rules bend when soul is at risk.
Yeah.
Right? Like, okay, so he's still kind of bending the rules. So's Cara a little bit here. Like, this isn't something we're supposed to do.
But the spirit of the thing is correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And like, especially too, because, and this is what I was interested for, like when we got this part of the episode for the first time, is he put the armor back on. He put the helmet back on. Now, he told us in season 1, he told Cara to her face, once you take it off, you cannot put it back on again, ever. But he did, because the rules can be bent. And he knows that, like she knows that too. If she remembered, it's like, it's very interesting to see. Okay. So like I just can't help wondering what that moment was like when he's looking at his helmet in his hands, like, what do I do?
Right.
But he knows what has to be done to save Grogu. So he's, he does what needs to be done.
He does. He does.
Yep.
I love it. Yeah. So Mayfeld walks free. He's not absolved, but he's released. Then we cut to Gideon on his cruiser, and they're receiving a message from Din. And Din gives an epic transmission, right? So Din kind of mirrors Gideon's season 1 monologue, and he just really reverses exactly what he had said to him of like, you have no idea what this child means to me, right?
Yeah.
And like kind of like gives it as a threat of like, I'm coming for you. I know exactly where you're at. You better get ready. And I love that because I don't know. I think it's a theme, like a key thematic reversal. Din's no longer reacting. He's hunting, right? Like, okay, here we go. He's no longer just a bounty hunter. He's a father on a warpath. And Gideon watches. He's silent, calculating, maybe a little scared, right? Like he's like, maybe I made a mistake. This is not good. And then we cut to black, end of episode.
Yeah, and I don't know if you noticed about that transmission, but in the monologue, but Din intentionally changes every time Gideon referred to Grogu as it, with he and him or child. Like he is very intentional about humanizing Grogu, about making it personal. Like you said it with the things about he means more to me than you'll ever know. It's just like I always love that. Gideon was just like, oh yeah, it means more to me. He's like, no. He means more to me. That's my son. It's so good.
It is so good. Okay, so all that is an incredible episode, incredible themes. Let's speculate for a little bit. Do you think that we'll ever see Mayfeld again in the Mandoverse, whether it be maybe the Mandalorian Grogu or something else?
I definitely think it's possible. I would love, and I would love it. I think Bill Burr has had a good experience working on Star Wars. He's talked highly of it and everything. So I think he's probably down to come back if they want him. And I think as long as the story supports it and everything like that, there's no reason we shouldn't see Mayfeld again, I think.
Yeah, I think it's definitely possible. Never say never to, this kind of thing in Star Wars.
True.
And I would love it if it was like, Mayfeld ended up trying to hide out somewhere seedier, where it's like easier for him to blend in, like somewhere like, I don't know, Ord Mantell. Maybe if Din and Grogu end up there, they cross paths. It's like, hey, you want to help us out for a second? Like something like that would just be it would be so like fitting for this character too, because I think, keep Mayfeld as like this character who just pops up randomly, delivers some incredible performance that is just so unexpectedly important to the story. And then it's like, all right, I'm out.
Like he's almost kind of, this might be a bit of a stretch, but he's almost kind of a Lando type character right now. Like he's kind of in limbo of like, he's right on the verge of just being full on good guy. He's not quite there yet. But he started off kind of like, we don't trust this guy. We don't like this guy. To, this guy's pretty cool. I like this guy. And to, I hope he shows up more. I like, you know what I mean? Like, so kind of that same kind of archetype of character, I think he has followed. And so, I definitely hope that at some point we might see him again. This is something that occurred to me on this watch. And I want to ask you guys your opinion of it. So he got his face scanned. The Empire has what he looks like now. Do you think that's like what problems maybe could arise out of that, of like the Empire knowing what Din actually looks like?
And when I saw this, I was like, yes, because this is something I have been hyperfixating on for years. I'm like, have we all forgotten that the Empire has a full scan of his face, and they're the only people who like do yes, sure, that terminal blew up with the rest of the facility, but it probably got uploaded to a network. And who knows what kind of connections they have. And I personally thought that at some point Gideon would use it as like blackmail of some sorts. Now, I would love if that could still happen in some respect, in a way where it's like, it makes it so that Din in his helmet, aside from like, the religious aspect of keeping it on, like in terms of concealing his identity, it's pointless, and like it kind of makes him reckon with like, well, what's the point? Like somehow it goes out on blast where it's like, oh, people know who I am now, like what I look like, what am I doing with all this? It's just, I have thought about that so much, and I would love if it came back up, and I don't know how, in what respect, but like, it's just so compelling to think about.
I could also see a situation, and maybe this is a bit of a stretch too, but like the Empire being able to figure out through that facial scan, like who his parents were, like his actual parents. And like, is there something to that? Is there some sort of important information about Akventa that we don't actually know and his parents?
That makes me think of something, a very random question. Do we ever see Din's parents' dead bodies?
No.
Were they there?
No. We don't see that. We just see that there was a big explosion outside and the doors kind of move, but we don't see their dead bodies. That's
what I thought. But like, there's not even like, from my memory, there's not even like robes there. And like, it was an explosion, but like, I don't know. This is Star Wars. You never know. Yeah, like I would love if there's like, we find out that they were like kidnapped.
I'm still not even sure Darth Maul is dead. I've seen
I'm
this
not
guy
sure
die
that Tech is
many
dead.
times. Yeah, who knows?
Tech lives.
I'm gonna go even wackier with the face scan thing, and go even further of a stretch. The Empire creates some kind of Mission Impossible style face mask, and someone impersonates Din.
Oh my gosh, I would love that though. That would imagine he has to fight himself, literally.
Luke.
with all the use.
All right. Well, Molly, thank you so much for being on this episode. We had so much fun. We would love to have you back at some point on the show.
Yes.
You want to share with the audience like where they can follow you, find you, all that?
Yeah, for sure. I just go by my name everywhere, but you can also always find me. The Mollylorian is kind of my tagline, whether it be on Twitter or on TikTok. Not that I'm posting a lot on TikTok, but you will see me in Star Wars TikTok comments often. That's kind of my brand. But I publish as Molly Brizzell, so you'll see that in any of my old articles or anything I might happen to upload to my YouTube channel that right now just has my interview with Lamar Giles about Sanctuary. So if you've read Sanctuary and you want a spoilery interview, check that out.
Absolutely.
But guys, I had so much fun too. I can't express to you how much of an honor it is, first of all, to be here with you guys, but also to be talking this episode specifically, because it literally is everything to me. I love this episode so much, and I would love to come back. You mentioned something about a Bad Batch Mandalorian episode. Come on, that has my name written all over it. So I would love to come back for that and more. It was so fun. Thank you guys so much for having me.
Yeah. For sure. Well, thank you again, Molly. Everybody go follow Molly and check out everything that she's doing. And if you enjoyed our show, you can leave a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts, Google Play.
We're so close to
Spotify, wherever.
This sounds really braggy, but like I do, it's just an achievement I want to get. We're so close to being the most reviewed Star Wars podcast on Apple Podcasts. We're so close.
Oh my god!
So come on, people! If you
Do
haven't
it, guys.
reviewed, please. We're asking for your help. We're almost there.
Yeah, for sure. So, check out a rating and review wherever you're listening right now. If you really, really enjoy what we do here and want to support, go above and beyond and support us financially, if you've got the bandwidth to do that, for just $2 a month, you can get access to all kinds of cool bonus content and a really cool Discord community. Really love everybody that's in there, always doing cool stuff. I think all that will cover the business. Thank you again for listening to another episode of the Mandalorian Rewatch. We will be back next week, and if there's any trailer stuff, keep an eye on your feed.
Yep.
We'll be putting something
Of course,
out.
of course.
But until then, keep the watch.